All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, I am going to talk about what Shawn Porter had to say on the Porter Way podcast about Terence Crawford. And it is a big admission as we get closer to the fight about the competition relative to Errol and Terence. Now, and some of y'all ain't gonna like it, but we've been saying it for so long that, hey man, we're gonna continue to cover it. Let's talk about that and finish this topic for good in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division because what else is there really to talk about in boxing right now other than the biggest fight that there is in the sport and one of the biggest events that there is in sports, the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford fight, where Shawn Porter has made an admission. And it is on the Porter Way podcast. Do not tell me this man did not say this. He said it. And honestly, I am shocked at boxing fans that need to actually hear this out of this man's mouth, which is that he was not the same fighter when he fought Terence Crawford. And he was when he fought Errol Spence. Was not. And completely rejected the idea that Terence Crawford had presented that it was a better win than Errol's win over him. Thank you for common sense. But before I get into the details of it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It means a ton. Matty, old dude, I owe you a bunch of thank yous for the super thanks and the sponsorships of videos like this, man. Mr. Pragmatic, Barbara D, Deborah Booker, John Bowie, of course. Thank you guys for sponsoring these videos. And welcome to anybody else that would like to sponsor the video. You can do it by hitting the super thanks in the down there by the comment section where you can leave a comment. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you real fast about today's sponsor, the Boxing Showtime app. It's a very useful app that keeps you updated on all things boxing, and you can keep up with the latest fights, where to watch them, the latest news, and a lot more. For any hardcore boxing fan like myself, and most likely all of y'all, I would definitely recommend downloading it. And it also is most definitely a big support to the channel. It's available for both Apple and Android, and you can find the link in the description below. Thanks for considering downloading Boxing Showtime's app. But let's get back into the subject matter of the video. All right, so Errol and Terence have common opponents. Two common opponents specifically. One is Shawn Porter, the other is Kell Brook. When Terence Crawford was talking about his accolades versus Errol Spence Jr.'s accolades, Errol also did the same thing, talking about his accolades versus Terence Crawford's accolades. And they say, Errol says Terence has not fought anybody. Terence said, look, I knocked out Shawn Porter. You weren't able to knock out Shawn Porter. I knocked out Kell Brook earlier than you knocked out Kell Brook. Errol says, Shawn Porter, daddy threw in the towel and he wasn't even ready to fight you. And Errol and Terence says, Kell Brook, I already broke his eyeball. I already broke his eye socket. The other guy had already broke his eye socket. He hadn't been in the weight class in 3 years. Big deal that you beat him. I already did it, right? That kind of back and forth. Now, Errol Spence Jr. fans agree with Errol Spence. Terence Crawford fans agree with Terence Crawford. Not surprising at all. What does Shawn Porter have to say about it? Shawn Porter has to say, look, Terence Crawford, you can have a name on your resume, but just because you have that exact same name doesn't mean that you fought the same fighter. He said, look, man, just because you fight somebody on Monday right? Doesn't mean that he's in the same condition that he on Saturday. It's not the same. It's two different circumstances, right? And so he specifically rejected the idea that Terence Crawford be a better version of him, did a better job fighting him than Errol Spence Jr. did, right? Now, to reasonable people, you should understand this, and not. I think there's a lot of subjectivity in boxing, and there's no problem with people if you say, hey man, that car is blue. Do you think that car is better looking than the red car? One guy says, no, I think the red car is better looking than the blue car. Another person says, no, I think the blue car is better than the red car. So great, you get in the blue car, I get in the red car. No worries, those are subjective. Now, is that a car? Look at that red thing over there. That is a better looking car, and you see four wheels on it, right? And four wheels, four doors, and it looks like a car, a trunk and a hood. But then you say, no, that's a better looking car. But this one looks like a bicycle with a motor on it, and it doesn't have any doors. You jump on the top of it. It's got handlebars and not a steering wheel. You cannot argue that that's a better looking car than that one, because guess what? That's a motorcycle and that's a car. That's a better looking car because that's not a car, right? That's arguing about a fact, right? That's a mixture of opinion and fact. What's better looking could be an opinion, but whether it's a car or not is not an opinion. So in this particular situation, it's not an opinion to say that a fighter that is 2 years or 3 years older, who has already been knocked out multiple times, is in better situation after he's already lost everything that he had, after he's already dropped out of the rankings, after he's already been knocked out on multiple occasions, can pop up and magically become a better fighter at an advanced age 2 fights before retirement. That's not going to happen. But the thing that is an actual fact, right? You can say, oh, that's opinion. But the thing that is an actual fact that you cannot disagree with is that over time, things degrade. If you sit an apple out and you say, wow, that is a crispy apple, cut a little sliver in it, leave it in a drawer, and come back in a week and see what that thing looks like. It is not going to look the same way it did when you put it in there. It may very well be moldy and dried out and moldy. Why? Because age affects things. So the idea that a fighter, just because Muhammad Ali has Larry Holmes has a loss to Muhammad Ali, or Muhammad Ali has a loss to Larry Holmes, that was the same thing as Joe Frazier beating Muhammad Ali. It wasn't, because that was a different Muhammad Ali than that was. This one happened, and it may not have seemed too long. One happened in 1972, I believe. The other one happened in 1980, I believe. It's just 8 years, but dramatically different people. Even if, and I do believe he wound up fighting Larry Holmes, let's go back a step further and say in 1978, when you have Leon Spinks beating Ali in 1976, but you got somebody in 1974, 1978, and 1972, right? I think maybe even Kenny Norton might have beat him in 1973. That's just 5 years apart. But those are wildly different people, but different Alis. And why is that? Because they've aged, because they've had training camps, because they've had big punches, been in there with big punchers, and it affects you over time. That is just a fact. So when we talk about the resumes of these guys, you can't just look at it and say, yeah, it doesn't matter that Kell Brook had already been beaten by Gennady Golovkin and already been beaten by Errol Spence Jr. and hadn't been in the weight class for multiple years, or that Shawn Porter's dad himself, trainer, said, look, we knew this was going to happen because he wasn't training the way that he should be training. Shawn Porter himself says, yeah, you're right. I wasn't doing the training that my father wanted me to do because I was older. I didn't feel like running the hills. I didn't feel like doing all of that stuff, right? What Shawn Porter already had his eye on was the career that he has right now as a podcaster, right? So just let's be honest, man, like Shawn Porter was, and not try to claim that that's not the case. It is the case. Now, will it have any type of impact on the fight? Who knows? Terrence Crawford could very well go in and win the fight. Errol could, the time frames in which they fought could have completely switched. But Errol Spence Jr. may still run through him. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's who's gonna win the fight. But you can't make stuff up and just act like what people understand about the biology of human beings and how the operation of time and how time operates isn't real. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.